Computer. Lights.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday. All right, today we're going to be working on 3D assets. So I think a lot of you know that I like to do 3D models of the backgrounds for my comics. It makes it consistent and easier. One of the biggest problems that I have as an artist is that I get a little bit hyperactive on the OCD side, so a little like when I start drawing something, I get very upset that in frame 1 I had 2 lines and in frame 2 the same object only had 1 line. So I knew that as an artist in the 80s and the 90s, and just would spend an extra 4 or 5 hours making sure that all the lines were consistent and going through and erasing stuff, which is time consuming. And what I found was being able to use a program like Daz 3D or Poser, I could import 3D objects and then change their texture map. And once I changed their texture map, then I could have objects that looked consistent from one panel to the next, because it literally would be a different rendering from a different angle. This is what led me to ultimately using maquettes, was because the maquettes then could sit in the environment. And when I drew over the maquettes, they would be literally interacting in the environment. So the next step to that was to learn how to model in 3D so that I could build my own assets instead of, at the time that I did this, I was drawing a Star Trek comic. And so it was pretty simple to just import somebody else's Star Trek bridge and somebody else's chairs and somebody else's, briefing room and transporter room and all the pieces that you needed. But they didn't look like they were hand drawn, and they didn't look like they were mine. So the next step was, during the course of the time that I was doing Tamerlan, I started by just tracing over it. So I would render the bridge of the Enterprise or whatever, and then trace over all the lines of the model. And then once I did, I would have my own drawing that looked consistent and all the buttons were in the right place and nothing moved. But then ultimately I made my own models. So I took the blueprints of the bridge, which are copious out there. There's a zillion of them. Heck, I've got 2 or 3 books right back here on the bookshelf that explain how to build the bridge of the Enterprise. And I took these copious things and built my own 3D models using what was called Wings 3D and NM8 which were these programs in the early 2000s. And I built my own. Now I'm using Blender for all of these jobs, and that's what we're doing today. So we've got models that I built last night. I did some quick modeling last night where I built some countertops and some computer consoles and things like that. And I got to a certain point and thought, I should broadcast this because this is fascinating to people, I'm sure. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to work on this. We're going to be doing a certain amount of work today. We're attempting to make a space for this. So we'll work. I'm just bringing up some reference photo here. Reference photo. There we go. Now we're going to transfer to the monitor. Now, what you're seeing here is not the same critter as here. So this is not the same thing. Let me save this. All this. Chair. So we're going to save that as chair 2. I'm going to open recent because we were working on the computer. So here is a computer console, just a generic computer console. You not you. You type on the computer, not you. And it brings up a holographic projection in this zone right here. And when it's off, there's nothing in here, and you can see straight through it. The idea being that this can be a console sitting on a bridge or something like that, and then whenever you need the information, you hit the little button and there's the information. You read the information, and it vanishes, and you can still see the front of the spacecraft or whatever. So the first thing I had to do, once I modeled this, I went on ahead and did what we call UV mapping. UV mapping means that you project effectively the model as a flat thing. Yes, I'm hoping so too, Brent. Anyway, internet seems stable for the moment. There we go, knocking on wood. So the first thing I did was UV map it. And that means we unwrap the model. So imagine that the model is wrapped in very tight wrapping paper. And you take and you cut with a knife along the wrapping paper and then unwrap it. And then flatten all that paper out onto a table. And then you can paint it any way you want and then wrap it back around the model. And that gives us the things that we're looking for. So this is the UV unwrap of this model. It took a little while because this is a complicated model. There's a lot of pieces. You can see that there's an opening right here, and it's curved to go around a countertop. And we've got this the hologram pole, which is to the right here, which has its own little power buttons on the side too. So once I did that, I exported this. And that's now over here, where I have promptly done all of the line work around the outside. You can see the original here. Oh, a number of things going on, right? And there's the original outputted piece. So that's what it looks like originally. You know what I'm going to do, though? I'm going to add a new raster layer. That underneath it there like this, and then we can make this white angle work, and it makes it a little easier to see it. So this is the outputted grid that Blender just put out, which you can see looks exactly like this, right? So Blender put this out, I loaded it into Clip Studio Paint, and now I have been tracing over it. Okay, so now that's where we are today. Now, something I've been thinking about in the universe of Bellatrix Rising is the idea of changing the keyboard. Now, we obviously have a different language, right? But I feel like rather than 101 keys, and you learn the stenographers and court proceedings have a much more interesting and unique keyboard because it only has 10 keys. And you learn to do a different typing style on the stenographer thing, but it means that their fingers stay on the keys at all times, and they're just pushing different combinations. Yes, I like the very militarized look. I think that's what one of the things that all of us are all sort of here for, is that the thing about Bellatrix Rising is that it does very much look like has a very sharp militarized look to it. But anyway, one of the things that I was thinking about was like a stenographer's interface, right? The stenographers use combinations of keys to generate every letter, right? So that they don't ever have to take their fingers and move them to a different key. Like when we use these keyboards, like the QWERTY keyboard, which is what this one's called, or the Dvorak, which is the other version of keyboards, or for that matter, other countries, which, I mean, a Japanese keyboard is entertainingly twisted. When you see an actual Japanese keyboard, usually they use just the QWERTY keyboard and they learn to write in Japanese, and then it just converts the letters up on the screen. So they write phonetically, and it converts all the letters up onto the screen into correct Japanese. But I have seen original Japanese keyboards, and they're fascinating to me because there's 45 keys, because there's 45 letters. And so rather than do that, I was thinking what would be interesting is if you had just 10 keys and you would type on the keyboard like a stenographer does in a court proceeding. You know, it's like you'd have A, B, C, D, E, and then like F would be these two, and G would be these two, and H would be these two, or something like that. And then I would be these two, and then J would be these two, and then K would be these two. I mean, I've already made it to K here with just my left hand, and that's just 2 keys. That's not even if you were to say L would be these 3, and M would be these 3. That gives you the half of the alphabet with just the left hand, right? And if you can train yourself to learn how to do that, then we literally could have all 26 letters of the English alphabet with the first half here and the second half here. Right. Braille machines. That's a great point. Braille machines are the same way because they press the tabs into the paper. That's right. I'd forgotten that Braille machines were like that. Thank you, Ghost Hand. Because that's exactly right. Because that's the same thing. It's kind of like, so that's what I've done here is now the keyboards on Bellatrix are going to be this way. We're going to have them set up so that they are by keys in groups of 5. So you get your left hand interface and your right hand interface, and it reconfigures for what race you are. So if you are, say, Jacine, you have little tentacles. It doesn't really matter. You won't be in this space. And if you are Najor, the Najors can make 5 fingers. So I assume that they would translate to that, sort of the same way as why the Japanese use English keyboards now. My microphone is really high up because I was trying to do stuff. So sorry about the noise, guys. There we go. Let's adjust the microphone a little here. All right. So I put in hard lines, and the truth is that now I'm going to kind of go back in a little bit, and we're going to just rough it up a little, just so it doesn't look so straight. You know what I mean? We don't want it to be perfectly straight. I'm sure that we will have some semblance of mental or thought typing of some sort. There is interface. Obviously, AIs can just think it out. But I was thinking more along the lines of, hey, the computer's having problems. It doesn't understand the instruction you want it to do. You need to tell it what you want it to do. It's having issues. That was my thought. You know what I mean? Like so that's one of the things that always kind of cracks me up about looking at like space age set design. There's like 15 little buttons. This button, is the intermix for the engine, and this button is the bloop-de-blop of the shield matrix. And I'm like, well, you only have 20 options there. I mean, what happens whenever, we need to reconfigure the warp core or whatever? That's one of the things that cracks me up about Star Trek every time is practically, just like you, Brent, because you work in computers as well, that practicality of, now wait a minute, so they're reconfiguring the warp core, but they only have 6 buttons. So they're just going beep, 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 and they're just like hitting the same 6 buttons, but they're doing it in like different patterns. And so I was like, they've either got to have some kind of pattern thing that they're doing where, down, left, right, up, down, A, B, start, that must be doing something to configure the warp core. I mean, I'm looking at all of these things and thinking this very thing. I'm like, no matter what, it's true. And that's another thing that Ghost Hand's bringing up too, which is, what do you do to tell the mental interface to stop? Or what do you do when you don't want the mental interface to be interfering? Like you're sick today, you're not feeling well. Your brain's kind of in a fog. We just have a cold. Does that mess up the mental interface? Does it not? Do we know? So these are all things, there's a certain amount of, Ghost Hand's talking about a certain amount of safety. That's the other thing, somebody has hacked the mental interface. There's going to need to be a keyboard somewhere. But also for the benefit of the practicality of the story, right? I mean, we're going to have, practically speaking, we're going to have something which looks like a control panel. Otherwise, people are going to be like, I don't know, I don't understand what this is. There's going to be people who are going to be very confused. So we don't want it to be too ridiculous. I did notice that this was a little uncomfortably close to that. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just moving it down. We don't need that many buttons. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll put some more buttons and doodly wops up here because, you need buttons and doodly wops. You always need buttons and doodly wops. What other things can I make? So I only have like the ability to put 6 sides on here. Where's my 8-sided? One 8-sided one. Huh. There we go. So we'll add some 8-sided polygons up here. Stop. All right. I like making buttons that don't look like the traditional buttons. Everybody always then thinks that it's futuristic if you've got hexagons and polygons. Right. Well, that's another thing, you may want. That's a very good point, Ghost Hand. I mean, you may want to, it's really stressful. Oh, my goodness. I can't think. You know what? Never mind. You pull out the little, and you then reconfigure the warp core. It's important to reconfigure that warp core. I tell you, you keep having to reconfigure the warp core. I'll put these 3 buttons like this. That looks good too. There we go. And 3 little command buttons up there of some sort that do something, somehow, somewhere. We'll do a couple of square buttons too, because we need a couple of square buttons to make it look like it, oh man, that's not cool. Ooh, but I can put a roundness of the corner on it. Round the buttons a little. Wish it wouldn't start from center. Is there a way to make it stop from center? No, I guess not. Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. Oh, nice. I think kind of this game of right. And a little bit of imperfection goes a long way with this. So I'm intentionally not lining them up perfectly to give just a little bit of... The video dropped, huh? It's back now. So Brent, you sent me on a rabbit hole last night looking through endless videos of Windows 11. I've got to admit, it does look cool. I think the thing I like the most about it is the rooms. The ability to configure different versions of Windows. I have needed that for a long time because I have sort of my writing style of this, and sort of my drawing mode. I have drawing mode, I have writing mode. Let me get rid of that last one down here. But I totally see what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm the idea that you can change the desktop picture in all of those rooms is extraordinarily enticing to me, because I can bring up like this structure here, and the desktop picture will change. I like that a whole lot. So if you're wondering what we're talking about, Ghost Hand, Microsoft announced Windows 11, and Brent was talking about it last night on Geek Tank, and we were discussing some of the benefits of it, and I was just noticing that it has some features that I really, really like. Not the least of which is that it's going to have a new feature where it will allow you to sort of save where everything is. So right now, if you were to look at I've got 3 monitors. I've got my drawing monitor here, and I've got 2 monitors on either side, right? The one up here and the one right over here. On this monitor, I have OBS running for the ability to shift back and forth between all of my my panels, and also it brings in my microphone and mixer. On this panel, I have Restream, so I can read what you guys are saying, which is why whenever I'm constantly looking up like this, looking above the camera. Down here, of course, I have the stuff that I'm yes. The thing that, so that's a thing about. Anyway, I love the idea that I can save all of this in a clump and then just come back to this configuration. Because every morning, that's one of the things I do in the morning is load this up and put that here and put this here and put this here and throw that there and throw that there. And, and I'm going to have all these different configurations, which can be saved. And I can use a backdrop that says, GS Davis Art or something. Because when I close all of these right now, I close them all. And you guys see my normal backdrop, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with my Windows backdrop. It's all it is it's a Horizon. It's a Daedalus class starship. And we all know that I have this like weird crush on Daedalus class starships. But it's this big Daedalus class starship, which is fine. But it'd be cool if whenever I closed everything, it said, GS Davis Art or something like that here. That'd be kind of nifty. So I'm just saying. I'm always worried about compatibility issues, but here's the thing that's fascinating about Windows. Somewhere along the line, Microsoft is going to have to do something about the fact that it is always trying to be compatible to DOS 5.0. Which is what it's doing. Every Windows, all the way back, has to be able to, that's one of their mandates. It has to be able to run DOS programs. Yes, it also reminds me a lot of Apple iOS with the rounded corners. They're spending more time on the UI, making the user interface look cleaner and nicer. I gotta admit, I'm very attracted to the widget thingy, because that widget thingy I might be able to hook all of my social medias into, which would be really useful, because as someone who broadcasts all the time like I do, I have to track all my social media, and I'm doing a very bad job of it. I cannot seem to track the data input coming in. I can't remember to check Alignable. Alignable is a small business social media. I can't track Nextdoor, which is, the neighborhood social media. I track my Facebook, but I'm like weirdly compelled to track my Facebook. I am noticing that I'm having random drops. It is alerting me that I'm having random drops. So if you guys are having a hard time seeing me, I am aware that some of my streams are dropping. I don't know which ones, though. Looks like Twitch. That's what I think's going on. Hey, Patsy. Welcome to the show. I see Patsy, too. That's good. Because on Facebook, well, she's on Facebook. So Patsy's on Facebook. But I'm getting the connection failure warnings up there. So cognizant and aware that we're potentially losing our connection. Oh my gosh. So Patsy, we are working on we're working on 3D models today. That's not what I wanted you to do. Stop. I can do this. That's what I need to do. Round it. This one goes like this. There we go. Gotcha. That's all right. You can still use Facebook. I use Facebook all the time. I don't like you either. Okay. I'm easily entertained. All right. Now I'm just kind of dressing it up a little, making it look a little bit more dressy. Okay, so I'm going to add some of the graphic designs that are kind of part and parcel of the universe of Bellatrix Rising, like these little grids. Right, I use these little grids to kind of give an effect. Unless it's being goofy. There we go. Now, when I'm doing things like this, I can go off the edge, and that's okay. That won't be a problem. If I add a circle like this, I can take the line tool like so and flip its color and do that. And it won't, once you turn off the background and turn on the white, it looks like that. So we're just adding in graphics to make it look a little bit more like, kind of what we would see in Bellatrix Rising by its graphics sort of setup. So add that and do the same thing we just did right here. That's probably a little too thick. Let's bring it down to about there. There. That just gives some graphics to it that makes it look that kind of like that setup. Okay. This is the back of this. This is the front right here. So this panel is the forward panel. This is the forward panel, really, right here. So we need to put the little power button things up here. This is the back panel, which means I did it wrong. I did it wrong because this is this forward panel. These need to be more buttons. Right? Purposeful color stripes. I can still type. See? Reasons for the keyboard. We just justified the keyboard. Oh, I'm entertained. I am so entertained. Okay, I know we just did these guys. We're going to undo these guys and redo these guys. Really? I mean, like, seriously. Like, what's going on with my internet? So the little event things I just did here, I'm going to get rid of because I'm going to put them on the back, and this is the front. I'll leave this black thing on here because it looks kind of cool, but I might actually put some white lines in it. Nope, not that. You know what? We're going to use the rectangle. We're going to do it filling in this. That way it'll always be straight. Yeah, it was me who dropped. I'm sorry, man. There, that gives it a little bit of like, you know, meaningful graphics like we were just talking about. We like meaningful graphics, and I'll actually put another line underneath it like this. And that looks kind of cool, right? Looks a little nifty, right? Right. See? Looking cool here. I'm going to go back over here. We're just going to fix that line a little. All right, now we're going to go in and we're going to go back into our polygon here. Oh, we can round the corners of this? Wow, look at that. That looks so cool. Okay, undo. Let's, whoa. Number of corners. We'll do 6. The roundness, let's bring it down just a little to 6. And we will add, not there, well, maybe here. That, which still looks a little weird. I'm determined to do this wrong. There we go. There we go. We got just a thing there, and we'll do a circle. Then we can copy that, which I think will be good. There we go. And we'll add a little bit of this. Just, I really like, not that though. Let's not do that. Undo. If you're going to do it this way, right? There we go. There we go. I really like these guys. They make for kind of a you know, it's a, so there's a certain amount of 70s/80s ethic that I really like. Great example of this is Loki, which, if you guys have seen Loki, the first episode has this place, this location that they're at, and everything has this beautiful 1970s techno-futuristic ethnic, which I love. The whole thing is just so ridiculously 70s, 80s. Like that late 70s, early 80s business acumen. So the reason that I love it so much, though, is because I mean, obviously, I'm a child of the 80s, and my dad was a businessman. You know, in the late 70s, early 80s, he was working in the tech field. He had a computer company in 1978, whose job it was. He was trying to make personal PCs. That's what he was after. My dad was always just ahead or just behind somebody. And he either didn't have enough money to do the thing that would have been revolutionary, or he invented the thing about 10 minutes after somebody else did. And that was the story of his life. And it's a humorous anecdote because he's just, it was a funny thing. But I remember as a kid constantly going to all of the, to his business place, and it looked just like what you see in Loki. These terminals that had green screens with letters burning in them, and the terminals were huge and big and had keyboards right in front of them, and and it was all in orange and with like beige stripes. And you're like, so I have a certain amount of love for that feel of, right there, that, right in the middle of 1970s, late 70s, early 80s. So I'm certainly going to make this feel kind of like that, right? Woodwork, craftsmanship, exactly. There's a certain amount of, I mean, obviously, as an old school Trekkie, I will always have a love for the 1960s future modern, that retro modern that they did. Oh man, the streams are crashing out again. What the heck is going on? All my streams are crashing out. So, anyway, future modern. Love the future modern. Always do. So we're going to be making a certain amount of future modern here to make all of this look nifty and cool. This is the back. This is the actual back. This is the actual back. Right here. So we'll make this work. Yeah, I mean, there came a point later in the 80s where they went into brown. And I'm not sure. That's a different era for me. I became sort of more of a teenager. I was a little bit more cynical. And my mom was the one I was with most of the time in the 80s. My mom and dad divorced in like 82, and my dad moved back to Texas, and my mom stayed here in Colorado. And so I would spend time with my dad, but only during the summer and during the Christmas break, So it was 6 weeks in the summer and 2 weeks in Christmas break. He would call every Sunday, but I didn't spend time with him. I wasn't actually physically there. And he had moved back to a small town. He'd moved away from Denver, which was a big city, into a little town where they were still kind of doing the retro 50s thing in the 80s. So there wasn't as much design going on in his world. My mom stayed here in Denver, and she had a high power office in downtown, on one of the main streets of Denver. There were a lot of people coming in all the time. There were actors and actresses in her office all the time. So her office was very modern, very 80s modern, elegant, and, all of the stuff. But her design ethic was more of that, when they got into that kind of 80s minimalism, where they were doing thin black lines and, in the very sharp sort of design ethic. And though that's great, I never liked it as much. That ethic, I have a different feel for it. I think because I was becoming a teenager and probably cynical, as an artist, we're influenced by the emotions we feel at the time. So I was very, I am Groot. That's where I was. I was like, I am Groot. That's totally where I was in the 80s. And so I get it. I wasn't that hot on the design ethic. I like the fact that as geeks, all of us understand a little bit of the I am Groot sort of thing. So, what's in here? But that's where I was. Yes. Yes, I agree. We lost a little bit of innocence. We lost a lot of bit of innocence in 9/11. Um, and the design ethic changed and everything changed. And I'm not partial, really, to the modern design ethics. Now, we've kind of walked away. We'll never have the neon colors of the 80s ever again. We're too cynical of a people now. All of us, all over the world, we're too cynical now. And that's sad. I loved neons. I love the neon part of the 80s. That was cool to me. Um, and so I really feel like we will never have kind of that feel again. Um, there's always some door that needs to be opened on the back of things. That never ends. Doors that need to be opened to manually control things and fix wires and stripes. Yeah. Well, one of the things is every time we pull back, when the economy goes low, when things go down, um, every time that happens, the first people to go are the artists. They always are. That's been a truism since the beginning of time. We artists are expendable, and that's what happens, and we're thrown out. All right, guys, we're getting kind of close here to showing you what we're after, because you're probably wondering what the heck is going on here. Yeah, McDonald's. Somebody had posted something about McDonald's where they had said McDonald's reflects sort of the way the world is, right? Where, once McDonald's was the happy-go-lucky kid, and now it's the bleak, miserable kid. Like, it's gotten itself like all bleak. It's like, whoa. There's a certain amount of truth to that. I mean, it is. It's very bleak. I agree. I miss it. I mean, I really do. I legitimately miss. Why are you not where you're supposed to be? Undo, 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 undo. There we go. I agree. That is my favorite thing ever, by the way, the I am Groot. When he was like being all snarky and teenagery. Okay. And they're like, whoa, dude. Oh, man, that cracks me up every time. Okay. I've got to put the hollow emitters in. So here we go, hollow emitters. We're coming up on the halfway point. And do the hollow emitters in here. Right? Woo! Let's do. There we go. And we'll take just the straight line. Let's come to the pin, technical pin. There we go. Now we'll just take you, copy, paste you. We'll just duplicate you all the way down. But we don't even have the Soviet brutalism we were just talking about a couple of days ago. Right? And I mean, even that, I feel like we're missing. It's just existence, you know? That's the thing. When they cut money, they cut us. It's the first people to go is us. Always that way. So here I am making comics, which, you know what? Better that way. I'll keep you guys entertained. It's a better job. I don't need to be. I don't need a job. Yeah. So we got our hollow emitters in here. So these will be the little emitters that, because this. You know what? I could tell you all about it, or we can save it. So let's save as, and we will call it a JPEG. We'll call it computer base 1. Right? Save. Now we'll go into Daz Studio. And we bring up Daz Studio, and we will import see this computer object here. The object's already here. Are you not entertained? And it's going to ask me for some import controls, which is on the other screen. And all this is really asking me is some key things like all the UV coordinates. Yes, we want those because we just scored this. Read the faces, the polygons, the groups, make sure everything's done this way. And really, we're just saying it's 1,000%, which is generally what I do whenever I do Blender stuff, right? And here we are, right? So here's the object. Now we go over to surfaces and we browse and we bring up that computer base 1 that we just did. And look at that, right? Now we can look at it as it's, now you can see as an object what it is, right? There's our little hollow emitters in here. Here's our control panels. We got the little extra control panel up here. And from a distance, it just looks like a computer panel, not you. And that's how I make my 3D objects in the comic, right? This is the way it works. So now you can literally look at this computer console, this console. I'm just going to stop saying C word. Sorry, because I keep triggering. You can literally look at this console anywhere you want, and it looks fine. And it also looks hand-drawn, because it is. And I intentionally try to make the objects less complicated, not very complicated, because I don't want them, so like when I make them in Blender, it has two different benefits. Benefit 1, it doesn't look that the only problem is it looks kind of like a washer, like a clothes washer. Yes, well, okay, so Brent, yes, there's some kid out in the park over here. I have a park literally across the street from my house, my backyard. It's wonderful. It's really great, especially if you have an 11-year-old, because he likes to go out there and run around. And it's just right there. The problem, of course, is if there are other kids out there squalling, you hear that too. So the only problem I'm having right now is I feel like if you look right here, these 3 black squares kind of look like controls for washing machine. So I'm going to do something about those controls. So we're going to fix that. But the rest of this looks pretty good, pretty solid. I also kind of feel like this side's kind of bland, doesn't say anything specific. This side's good. Now, for the most part, I intend to put this console in a countertop. So that's a different model we'll do here in a second once we stand up and stretch and all that stuff. So, but other than that, I'm liking it. I think I kind of want something on the face here. You know, some kind of bar or control or a button or something. So we'll take a quick look. Lights haven't changed yet, so we still got a minute, right? Here's the side pieces on this. Same right here. This is a side piece as well. I think one thing that'll help this a lot is if I do this, right? And just right here, just this guy right there. That'll help a whole lot right there. It'll make this look a little bit better. And I could put one of these right there, and that'll look fine, right? The C word is the trigger word for my Alexa, because I'm a Trekkie, and you know darn well that the C word that I have rigged my Alexa. You know darn well I rigged my Alexa. And so my Alexa will be doing all kinds of funny things. Okay, let's do a couple of things. One, let's make this a half unit. So get rid of all of that. Actually, right? Second of all, we can do things like this. Right? We'll go in here with maybe a croak roll and undo. You know, sort of like some kind of, it's displaying something here. Are you trying to get me to say it? You know it's going to listen. I think you're messing with me, man. I know you're messing with me. That's all right. You can do that. It's okay. There we go. We'll put a, nope, that's too thick of a line. Yep, she's out there daddying. I can hear it. We'll do this. And then just give some, like it's scaling or something. Undo. Ah, lights have changed. There they go. It's time for us to take our break. There. That looks like some kind of console-y thingy. That looks good. So you know how this goes. Everybody, time to stand up. Stand up. Oh my goodness. And stretch. You know, this is good for you. Bend. Bend. That means you go stand down there in Brazil. You got to stretch, walk around. No thrombosis for us. Walk over here. You look outside. Make sure the little girl's not in trouble. And she seems fine. She's got daddy there, so daddy's got her under control, so we're all good. We'll go back to here. All right. Okay. Hope everybody got up and moved around. Now we're back to work for us. I'm gonna lights go back. Our break was good. There we go. I actually feel kind of like this is too much, too thick. There we go, like that. We'll put in the technical pin here, and we'll do that and this. There we go. And this guy, I don't think I want to freehand any of these things. I feel like thinking about the way that these graphics are often done in the world of in the real world, making a Brazilian flag suddenly. That wasn't intentional, but pull that around. I mean, everybody's going to have this is a spaceship. We're all going to have some kind of like control vector thing. All right, let's do this. Indicating some kind of orbital doodly whoop. Doodly whoop. That's a technical term. It's an orbital doodly whoop. Okay, we'll do this to this. We can do all the way down to there. That looks lousy. This to this, and don't be so lousy about it. There. It's still lousy. Right. I'll add that. There. Now the controls sort of look like controls, like they're saying something, which is cool. And we'll do this one over here, saying something as well. We'll actually add this in. Like it's roundness of corners. There we go. There we go. I'm on air. So my child is in here looking to see if I'm on air. I am, in fact, on air. So he'll have to wait. I'll do this, indicating some kind of informational data that you can, that nobody can parse. Nobody understands what this stuff is saying. Nobody. There we go. That said, people are saying hi to you. All right. There we go. So now we've added some just things happening over here. What else did we want to fix? When we look at this console, oh yeah, that's right. We were going to fix the face right through here. So let's go back over here. And the face down here has nothing. So let's remove this so we can see what's the face. This is the face. So let's first give it sort of the, you know, this console made by IBM or whatever sort of widget. The second thing we should do is put a long bar line like that. That'll help it a lot, right? So this will kind of make all of that fit. It looks good. So, Boy, we got a lot of chatter all of a sudden. What's the chatter about? Did Chelsea wake up? Chelsea, I think, woke up. My sister woke up. That's the... She didn't wake up. She's in class, and I get that. So Chelsea woke up, or rather, Chelsea is off work. Dragon Horse Technologies. Could be. Anything's possible. I'll also add just a little bit more black here. Make this look a little bit better. Just finish that off, right? All right. Now one of the things that it kind of aggravates me about Daz Studio, kind of a bummer, is that once you have mapped something, it remembers that map for you. It's very, very nice of it. However, if you're doing things like we're updating our maps on this, it makes it actually somewhat complicated. So we're going to this makes it look like writing. From a distance, it looks just like writing, and you're like, oh, okay, somebody wrote on that. It makes it work good. So here is the thing. If you follow Mike and Denise Okuda, who are Star Trek people who have worked on Star Trek since season 2 of Next Gen, season 1 of Next Gen. Yeah. So they joined in at Star Trek The Voyage Home, and they're graphic design people. They're people who do graphic design and things like that, and set design. Mike Okuda is a big anime fan. He loves Japanese animation. So you'll see a lot of that filtering through Star Trek. But he's the one who's responsible for the graphics that we know, that's LCARs, that the graphical lines and all of the way that the control consoles look in Star Trek. He's the reason that he's the designer of that. They're in fact called Okudagrams because of that. Because of his contribution to it. So the Okudagrams are, but Denise Okuda, who is his wife, she actually has done a number of amazing things. But one of the tricks that they use in Star Trek all the time that I absolutely adore is they take gaffer's tape, just your normal black gaffer's tape, and they run lines all over the set that go all up and down, and little lines go this way. And there's a wonderful picture of Denise on a crashed runabout, where the runabout is sitting on a set, and she's out there with the gaffer's tape, just putting panel lines on this runabout. And all it is just gaffer's tape. And that is the coolest thing ever. But as a technical design, black lines all over the place make it look futuristic for no reason. So I love putting black lines on stuff, because then it's like totally futuristic. This is exactly what this is. So, okay, as this, we have to do base 1A, so we can't load it as base. So we'll take this and go to the surfaces, same thing. We'll browse and we'll load base 1A. There we go. Now looking at it, it looks a lot better, right? It doesn't look like a washing machine up here. It's got some kind of made by Dragon Haas Technologies down here. This side looks good now. Doesn't look kind of weird. The back's got the little control panels and a little like thing that says something. Warning, don't look directly into the hologram emitters. I don't know. But there we go. Now we have just a random computer console. I said the C word. Sorry. Oh, the world will be taken over. It wouldn't be so bad if she didn't say don't worry about it. I don't know what to say about that. Oh my goodness. All right. That was not right, but very. I know, right? Um. Anyway, I try to be polite to my Alexa. That way I won't be necessarily the first up against the wall when the revolution comes. You know? Okay, small things that I'm looking at, but I'm not going to worry about at this moment. Really wouldn't mind cleaning that up a little right there. I'm also noticing the top part doesn't have anything on it, and I know where that is. That piece is random. It's this piece right here. I couldn't figure out where it was, so I didn't know. So for future reference, first of all, this is the bottom right there. So I'm just going to make it all black. It's, when you look at it, it's this piece right here, right under here, and that piece. And this will always be mounted on a thing, so it won't matter. So speaking of mounting on things, let's do the next piece, which is the countertop, because that's another one we want to mess with. Okay, so we'll load the countertop.png. This guy should be relatively simple. Everything should be pretty straight up. We'll add another layer underneath it just so that we don't have to worry about it's kind of confusing to see, not black. It's kind of confusing to see what this countertop looks like. But this is the bottom. It's flat and it's rounded on the top. That's it. So it actually may be rounded in a different way. And all I really think I wanted to do was just draw a line through the middle of it, make it look cool, and that's it. So let's go on ahead and just go in here real quick with a straight line, and we'll straight line out like that. That looks like that'd be fine. Okay, but we should probably do it on top. Clear check. You have to stop. But why? Because you're on the wrong layer. Okay. These jokes are the same. They're always the same. Okay, let's make this a little thicker, though. I feel like we want to be... How thick do we want this to be? There we go. So, maybe undo. Yeah, so we want to travel the length of this guy for the moment. So there. We'll do the same thing. So we're Denise Okudaing this. Okay, well, we screwed it up. That's right. I'm also noticing that it deviates. So let's not do that. Let's do it this way. Till it deviates. And here we go. We'll go off the edge here for both of these. That's ugly. So this is this week. This is this week's job, guys. So we'll be doing this all this week. All of these guys. So this will be not tomorrow, because tomorrow's Watercolor Wednesday. But this is what I'm going to be doing this week. So we're going to be getting these 3D models into shape so that we can start putting together the comic right away. Because we already have 2 panels going in the comic, and I want more panels. Obviously, we can't get to the wide shot of this office until we finish the office, her quarters. So all of this is part of Chang's quarters. As the CO, she's going to have a console in her quarters. So we've done the console. I'm going to do this. Give it a big, thick line for underneath it, because we want to be able to see that we're definitely underneath. So, and we'll do the same thing here. We're just going to put a thick line on the outside of these things, then make it look really sharp. It'll have 2 white lines going in between there. We'll come back around for this, because this is the back wrap around the outside of the countertop. So we're going to have to come back in here and just pull that back, right? Like this. And then we'll go this way and see what happens. But we'll go back with a thinner line for that. Right? Like here. Right. Right. There we go. We'll do the same thing here. Now, I do believe I did that off. I do believe that we are going to there we go. When I look at this now, we'll duplicate this layer, and we'll put it right there. So now you can kind of see what the countertop looks like to some degree. This little divot here then is sort of where the person sits. Their little chair can kind of go inside this little divot. But I am going to put a console in here, so I want to make sure that let's not do that, because it's crooked. No thing's crooked. So instead, we're going to do this. We're going to turn this all the way up to about there. We're going to do a stripe like this, because it looks cool, right? But we probably shouldn't do it like that. We should probably do it more like this, because, and actually you should probably do another correct layer. Layer check. There we go. And this way I can take the polyline tool and just come through here and go like this. Right. It doesn't matter that it's off the edge over there. All right. This should be relatively easy. I say that knowing that it probably won't be relatively easy. So we're going to save it as countertop1.jpg because there will probably be more. Right? Now we'll go back into Data Studio and we'll do the same thing we did before. We'll hit import and we'll take this countertop object. Right? Make sure everything is correct, accept it. Now it's in here. This is our countertop object. Right? I'll rotate it like this. And now we're going to see what kind of damage we've caused, because I'll bet you we didn't do it right. And I'm just about to say, for the record, I'll bet you we did not do this right. Okay, so we're going to then we're in surfaces, we're going to browse, we're going to grab this countertop.jpg. Okay? Yeah, we didn't do it right. I can already tell, right? The stripes on the underside, not the top side, which means that it didn't work exactly like we wanted it to. However, here's the thing, right? We can take this countertop, and now we can let's go to the top. Countertop, first of all, is not exactly straight. There we go. And take this guy, we pick him up, and we move him over. Like that. Then we settle him down. He merges just above to where he merges, like that. We do this, and voila. You have this guy still off center. That guy's still screwed up. There we go. There. And there you have now a desk, where you can write over here, but you've also got a little console over here, stuff like that. We put a wall right here with a window, and it looks nice. I mean, it'll look pleasant, be a pleasant place to be. When we render it out, I'll render it flat, which is exactly what we do. When you render this flat, it'll look like it was hand-drawn. And now everything is exactly what it needs to be. The only thing is that I feel like the countertop needs thicker lines around the outside to indicate where it is. But I can do that really quickly. That won't take time and stuff. But now we have sort of this, a table, a desk, and we're starting to move through. Understand that I did all of these models yesterday from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So it took me 2 hours to do a table, a console. What else did I do? A nightstand, because she needs a nightstand, because we've had that discussion too. So we'll do that real quick. I'm not sure I want to go back in and maybe I do. So this is the top. It says now, this is the top right here. That's the top. This is the bottom. So to indicate that this is the bottom, I'm going to do this number. And then undo this. And then I can get in here and make this 100. 100. Now we'll do the same thing we did over there. Over here. You know what? I kind of like leaving it rounded like that. That kind of looks nifty. This will be on the other side of the console, right? So the other thing we can do is something like that, right? So it's kind of like this is where your papers go to be recycled, or something. There's a paper thing. There's a square for your papers. To indicate the papers go there. Right? We can add some ellipses to the desk. I feel like they should be thicker though. Maybe not that. Let's go for 6. 6 seems to be our generic size for these things. So we'll add that like so. And because I want them to be identical, I will copy and paste this. Right, and then that way we'll have This is where your drink goes. Put your drink in the drinky cooler thingy. You put your drink on there and it keeps your drink cold, right? That's what that's for. Hey, if I was inventing the future, that's what I would do. Just saying. Totally do that. Don't think I wouldn't. So part of this is I was going to take that and just make it all black so that I know that that's the bottom, so that I don't have any more problems with which direction the countertop goes, because clearly I have problems with that. Okay, so we're going to go here. We're going to take the straight line tool. We did our 50 there, so let's go ahead and bring it up to 10. And we did want to make this thicker so you could really see that that was the back of the and the side here. It's the future. In the future, you have an automatic cup cooler warmer. You just sit your cup on it and it keeps your coffee nice and cold, because coffee should be cold. I'm just saying. I like my coffee cold. My friend said, you like your coffee like you like your women, cold and bitter. And I was like, isn't that cool, man? I don't think my wife's bitter. I don't think she's cold. Well, she is cold a lot of the time, though. I mean, like, totally. Yeah, see, that's because you're a weirdo there, Brent. Just saying. It's funny. I never thought I liked coffee. Yeah, actually, I think that that's probably true. You just sit it on there. Maybe it's got a sensor, and you put it on there, and the sensor knows that it's at, I don't know, 35 degrees Celsius. So it just keeps the heater on to 35 degrees Celsius. You know, if you put it on there and it finds that it's at -2 degrees Celsius, then it turns the cooler on to keep it at -2 degrees Celsius. You know, that's probably what happens. I mean, honestly, it's what I would do if I were doing it this way. There we go. The truth is, of course, naturally, I believe firmly that everybody should do whatever anybody wants to do. Whatever they want to do, as long as it doesn't hurt someone else, is totally cool. So, naturally, I don't think that we should ever dictate that coffee should only be hot. I mean, even in this house, where my wife likes the coffee hot and I like the coffee cold, we still manage to make it work just fine. Nothing goes wrong there. I did like the paper holder widget. That's not the paper holder widget. That's not what I wanted you to do. Undo. So we'll make the roundness of corners 6, because I like that. We'll make the brush size also 6. There. Ghost Hand understands me, though. When I speak Celsius, Ghost Hand gets me. I'm just saying. I've got friends who understand me. Okay. Save as, and just like before, we're going to save this as countertop 2, or I guess 1A. And then that way, right? Well, and everybody's, so ever since I came back from Japan, I have decided that metric is so much easier. And it's not easier to understand per se. It's not like it's, you know, super easy to to grasp or whatever. There we go. That looks a whole lot better. Looks like a nice little sort of countertoppy thing. There. Little console on the edge. We can pretty much do anything here. Trying to get this straight is kind of difficult though. There we go. But my buddies here kind of have been, bye-bye, Patsy. See you later. Thanks for joining us. My friends kind of make fun of me a little bit because they're like, you know, everybody here speaks Fahrenheit and inches and, you know, feet and things like that. And so they kind of make fun of me a little bit for it, which, you know, rightfully so. I am being a little horsey and weird, and I know that. But it is still very funny. That's kind of the thing that they do. And so it's been an ongoing joke, so much so that on Facebook, some of my friends have been making comments about the fact that, you know, like my friend who's got a few of us, but a couple of one of the girls from my high school group of people who, oh man, now we're trimming out again. Dang it. One of the girls from my high school group has moved to Australia a long time ago. And, you know, these are my high school buddies, so we're still connected on Facebook. And one of the other girls has been making fun of her and me because we both speak Celsius now. We both speak, you know, because of course I picked it up from living in Japan, and she picked it up because she lives in Australia. And so it's particularly humorous that this has been this ongoing gag, this ongoing thing. It's been very funny. So personally, yeah, it did the little, some connections aren't working, and then that went away. So I don't know what's going on. I think we're just having bad weather on the internet today. I think because this hasn't dropped. Last night when StreamYard dropped, it dropped. Like I got the dinosaur, you know, snap. Yeah. But over here, I'm still seeing connectivity down here on my control panel. And I'm still seeing connectivity up there. All right, we've built 2 of my objects so far. I'm very happy with the console. It looks nifty, right? That console looks cool. The countertop looks pretty nifty too. So let's talk about the third object that we were working on here. We'll go ahead and close that because we don't need to worry about this. You know what? We should save this, but we should save it as its PSD file because we don't want to save it as, we want to keep its bring. Yes, save over to PSD file. It's all good. Opens. Now the next thing we have is we have 2 more things that are in here. One of them is the nightstand. So the nightstand's a little weird. It's a weird shaped item, dropped like a rock in space. We got this nightstand that we're going to do, so we'll do it real quick. Shouldn't be that hard. It's just a nightstand, but we want to add a few, you know, features to it or things. So we're going to do that real quick. Add a new raster layer to it, and then we will duplicate this layer. Now we'll put this layer right here, and then we turn it off until we're done. Same thing we've done before. The nightstand is actually a pretty straight up sort of item. Doesn't require a lot of specific work. So we're going to go on ahead and just bring this up to the 18 level. And make sure that this has got a good border all around it. so that it looks like it was hand drawn. We're going to Denise Okuda, the whole thing. I swear Denise Okuda changed my entire life by telling me that little trick. Because now I'm like, I know how to make this all look like Star Trek. Or in this case, make it look like Bellatrix Rising, but effectively the same critter. Not really literally, but I'm doing all the same tricks for both of them, right? So to make it space agey, I added a divot in it. And then we're gonna put black lines in it. That's how you know it's space agey, right? It's black lines. This is the back. I don't think we'll ever see the back, but I never want to say never, because I might actually somewhere along the line decide to put it somewhere in the middle of a room. And all I have to do is use the same thing, but I can redress it relatively easily. So we're going to do this, and this, and this, and this. Do. Hi, George. You want scritches, George? Is that what you're after? He just walked by me. It was a drive-by scritching. About typical of him. George is doing drive-by scritchings. Does not surprise me. We'll do this, and this, and this, and this. And I'll continue these stripes on top because it makes for good graphics. Brent says hi, George. Wherever you are. Where'd you go? I don't know. Where'd who go? Move you over like that. And go for white. Take this and go for the line, and we'll do what we've done before and just do that. It looks better when you do that, right? Maybe we'll put the hot and cool plates on here too. Why don't we do that? That seems like a thing. All right, we'll put the little hot and cool plate. That way you can have your water sit there and be cooled during the night. So you have cool water all the time. You know, that would be really nice, actually. I have invented something. We need to market this, guys. We've invented something cool. That's what we need to do. This is naturally belongs to the military. So it needs to be marked as such so that you know that this is a military item. So we'll put the little military logo on it. Not military logo, but a warning to not steal the military item. I don't know. Things always look cool with these little divots on them, but not if they're crooked. Military doesn't want you stealing stuff. Government property and all. There we go. This guy should be straight up and not as complicated. So, not a very complicated thing. I will put, our little design widgets on it so that it looks like it belongs in Bellatrix Rising's little universe. So we'll put the little vent fans on it. No step. That's exactly what it says. It says no step. We'll do the little dots and things like that to make it look good. We'll do the little extenders on the lines so that they have that little bump out. These are all graphical designs that sort of unify our design as part of Bellatrix Rising. It has sort of these extenders on it, and that's a thing. And then we'll put a bar across there and a bar across there. That'll look really good. So let's go on ahead and take a look at what it looks like. Well, actually, first, let's turn this off. I feel like there should be a line here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that line there, like that. Just to, it's going to need that line. I feel like it's going to need that line. Because that's this part right here, right? So it needs a little line on it. That's all. And in fact, you know, we've got kind of this stuff going on here. What we really need is like a box. Not that, though. I don't screw it up here. We'll need to go like this. 6. And we'll just do that. There, right? That looks good. That's a thing. It's a thing. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. We'll save as. And we'll go ahead and save it as a JPEG, nightstand.jpg. I think the odds are this is going to work. On the first try, probably pretty slim. Okay, we'll do the same thing we did before. We're importing this nightstand object. This was the first one I had done. It's very small. Already see we may have a interesting issue with it. So we'll scale it up to the correct size for one. Put it right here. Go ahead and grab it and browse for its information here. There's that nightstand. You're right there. Go. Huh. Actually, looks pretty solid to me, I guess. There you go. Put it right at the end. And you can see already we have a very solid design ethic forming here. From this side, this looks rather nice. Give it a little bit more of a size push there. It should be the same height as our desk. There we go. Put it at the edge there. There we go. And I was right to put that line. Look at that line. That line looks like it's supposed to be there. Yeah, look at that. And now we have the starting pieces of the quarters, right? We have about 15 minutes left. Wonder if I can pull the bed. The bed was built too. We're getting much closer to what looks like an operable set. I'm sure that this nightstand here, right? Future tech. Something is happening to my recordings again. But yeah, we're getting much closer to an operable design. I'm actually rather happy with this. This is looking pretty good. One of the things we will have to ultimately do here is come up with, and the best part about this is, like this console here, that's the generic console, but we can make 6 or 7 different variants of it with different little bits on it and stick them all around the room, and you have a whole bunch of little consoles. I'm not going to say the C word because I know it'll trigger you. A whole bunch of little consoles all over the place. But this is starting to look very much like an ethic that I like a lot for this comic. And soon we'll have chairs in here and stuff like that, and we can actually render out scenes inside this room. And that'll be great. And you guys can start seeing actual work. I'll do a couple of slice of life sort of pictures for this in a bit here so we can kind of get an idea of what the entire ethic looks like. But yeah, we should be fine. It's going to be great. Look at us doing awesome work. Bed. Let's do the bed. Somebody needs to sleep. Invariably, somebody's going to need to sleep. Nightstand looks like it's straight up exactly where it should be. Let's open that bed. Bed. All right, here's the bed. Do a new raster layer underneath it, which, for those of you who are military oriented, this is not a bed, this is a rack. Because it is still Navy / Marine aesthetic. All right. The bed is shaped like this, right? So we've got a black line through the middle like that. And I don't know how straight that black line is. So we may not be able to get a straight line across it like this. Yeah, it's not straight enough. So we're going to have to we'll have to do that. Okay, so we need to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. This is the line right here. We got to be careful because they need to line up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Otherwise, we do the wrong one on the wrong stripe. That won't be cool. This one's lined up. Well, that's nice. How nice of it. It's just this one that's goofy. That's all right. We can fix it. We can fix this. That's not the way to fix it, but that's all right. We're working the problem here. Okay. There we go. Now up here is going to be the mattress. This is the bottom. And just like the other one, I made the bottom just so I can just make it black. That way I know where the bottom is and I don't have to worry about it. So, okay, going back here, bring the line down to our 10. We'll go on like this. Undo. Let's get really close to this line, like so. And then we will Denise Okuda it. Boy, we are moving very slow, aren't we? There we are. So we'll Denise Okuda the bed. This probably needs to be black. I mean, just like solid. So let's go ahead and just do that. Thank you. It's like, I'm only doing some. Sometimes I get an error read on my pen. And it says, oh, you let up on the pin. No, actually I didn't. But thank you for playing. So we'll do that. Come over here. Denise Okuda this side too. And like that. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to trace this outline. Okay, just like that. Gaffer tape the bed. Sounds kinky when you say it that way. I don't know, man. All right, moving along here, going down here. We're just going to keep going down the bottom here. I think this is all black. If I recall correctly, IIRC. Right, let's do that. And then I can do that. Ah, ha, 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 ha. You know, sometimes you have to worry about your bed floating away. This is space. This is Sparta. You know, so I mean, anything could happen here. We are talking about space. Now the bed's mattress itself, I'm going to go on ahead and do like this so that it's got a white line underneath it. And then we're going to make the mattress black for reasons. Space mattress, that's why. Apparently that's a space mattress thing. Right? It's not your place, man. Just not your place. I'm just saying. You're into gaffer's tape. That's not us, man. We're not into that. It's all good. That's twixt you and your gaffer's tape. All right. Space mattress. Okay. We're going to do the opposite of what we just did with the black. So we're going to take this and we're going to go all black for the mattress. The mattress is just one big black thing. Okay, not a problem. But you can't tell now where the layers of that are. Didn't actually go exactly right, which is all right. I'll fix it here. All right, we can't exactly tell where the edges of the mattress are, so what we're going to do is this. And first, we're going to trim the outside here. So we've got this guy trimmed, and this is obviously black work. Right now, we've kind of done the trim where we want it. We're going to have a black line around the outside of the mattress. That makes total sense. We'll add a few graphics to kind of make this work so that it feels a little space agey. That's not what I wanted to do. Undo. Take the rectangle tool. We'll do, kind of like this guy here, which make it space bed. All right. And then naturally we will add something along the lines of a line that goes this way to here and then goes all the way across to, well, okay, that didn't help like I wanted it to. Not having guides, that's another thing that I really miss about Photoshop. Okay, so we're doing stuff like this, just adding a couple of just graphics to make it look like a bed from Bellatrix Rising, right? So we'll add a couple of those things like that. I feel like we probably ought to add that line there, and this line, and this line, and this line, which means we really should add these lines here, just to make it look like we know what we're talking about, and we meant to do this, right? So we'll add that line like so, and we'll add this line like that. And again, we're just Denise Okudaing it. Man, I hope she appreciates how often I bring her up on this. I love her work, though. I mean, that's one of those things. You go up to Denise Okuda, love your work, especially on that episode where you just put gaffer's tape all over a runabout. I mean, it just sounds weird when you say stuff like that. Okay, here's the thing where we've got to do the trick. So I'm going to bring this down, and we're going to take a pen. So we're actually going to go into Croak Quill pen. We're going to switch colors, right? And we're going to come up here, and we're just going to do this, right? We're going to do this. Because it's a mattress, it's not going to be like easily recognized, or it's not going to be straight. The lines aren't going to be perfectly straight. It's a mattress. It's fluffy. So it's going to have just that going for it. So bring this back up. That's what it looks like there, right? I'll make that like that. Looks like this. This looks like a thing. Let's add a couple of those square graphics that indicate that you're not supposed to move the bed and crap like that. I'm using the wrong tool again. And don't move the bed until you get, the Marines in here. The Marines are the only ones who can move the bed. Don't move the bed. Military. Because military. There we go. Okay, let's take a look real quick. Let's save this as bed 1. All right. And save it as a JPEG. Okay. Then we'll move over to Daz Studio. And we will import the bed. Everything looks good. It's going to be small because it's not scaled up to the right size, probably about the size of that. Right. Now I'll take this over here on Surfaces, Browse, Bed, and there we go. You can see the mattress has got some highlights on it now, where you can see the mattress's edge, right? And we did the wrong square, didn't we? Look at that. We're off by 1 square. Curse you, squares! Right? Because it looks like those squares are in the wrong spot. Which is all right. We'll go fix it. But we turn the bed this way. Actually, if we turn the bed this way, then we're getting there. Look at this, guys. Starting to look like a spot, a real like science fiction place. Like somebody could live here almost. Almost. We're not there yet. But boy, are we close. So we've got console. Got a little countertop here. We've got nightstand and a bed. And this rack probably lives just fine. And maybe it's not bad this way. Maybe it's just fine. I feel like it's got random black stripes. It doesn't actually have like the black stripe I was looking for. So we'll work on it. We'll work on it. So it's raised slightly. You can see it being raised slightly back there. But one little bit at a time, the quarters are starting to come together. Once these quarters are together, we can start rendering out the scene from in these quarters. And once they're done forever and ever, amen. So this takes a little bit of time in the very beginning, but from this point forward, any time in my comics that we go back to somebody's quarters, I might need to do a small amount of redressing. I might need to do some work here or some work there. But even in this instance, the big benefit to this is that I have in this particular piece, now what we've got is the ability to just take these elements and rearrange them. These are the quarters in her little house on Polaris, on the mothership, the home ship. But I can take these same elements and move them to her quarters on the Kittiwake, and all I need to really do is just redress the walls a little bit to make them more tight, more compact. I can use all these elements in a bigger element or a bigger spacious thing, maybe add a couple of potted plants or something like that, and we're good. So this will be just fine. So anyway, Speaking of potted plants, that's something I want to try to figure out how I'm going to do. We'll figure it out. Not sure how I'm going to do potted plants, but I want to do potted plants because I think they look cool. And it's, again, back to that 70s, 80s aesthetic. They always had like plastic potted plants everywhere. So we'll have to come up with plastic potted plants so we can have that. It's, the 70s and 80s design aesthetic, because I love the 70s, 80s design aesthetic, and I always will. Okay, guys, that's it for us today. We'll be moving on tomorrow to Watercolor Wednesday. I don't know what we're doing for Watercolor Wednesday. What I'm kind of hoping for is that I will have one of these. I'll have the quarters done so that we can do maybe a painting of the quarters, kind of paint it up and make it look nice and make us kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. So I might be dinking with these models for the rest of the day. It doesn't take that long to put all this stuff together. So we'll go ahead and do that. In the meantime, I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you for joining me, Ghost Hand. Thank you for joining me, Brent. And Patsy, wherever you went off to. It was wonderful seeing all of you guys. And so I will chat with you guys all later. And remember to keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye. Computer, good night.